I know.
Good morning, everybody. I know what I'm doing in here. Well, that's debatable. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment. As always, if you want to skip past... What?
I'm echoing.
God.
Why is it turning on by default? That is not supposed to get turned on. Okay, I got a little thing, another thing to fix. You know what? Let's just unplug that to make sure that can't happen. I'm going to need that later. Good morning. As usual, if you want to skip past the morning pleasantries, scroll down. There will be a link, a time code. You can jump past that stuff. Good morning, everybody. Sorry we had to start an hour late today. As explained, had a little doctor's appointment with the wee baby. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, let's see here. Let me scroll through the morning pleasantry comments that are in here. I see there are already a few showing up. Marvin, you mentioned the UK affiliate. Ryan, please write this down. ASBYT. Write that down. We gotta look into those guys. Thank you very much, Marvin. I see other things with my name on it. Remember, guys, if you want to catch my attention in a chat, just to put the little @ symbol and start typing PhotoJoseph, it'll come up, complete the name, and then that will show up nice and red on my screen. And as always, if you really, really want to get my attention, then if you hit that little super chat button, that's the one with a $sign on it, you can throw a little money into the bucket to help keep this show on the air, and that will get my attention really big on the screen, and I will address your question as quickly as possible. Also, of course, if you are interested in supporting the show long term, we have that whole Patreon thing. So make sure that pops up here on the bottom of the screen. But if you hit the Patreon, throw in a little bit of money every month, that will certainly help to keep things going here. All right, let's see other comments that are flying by. John Morby said, oh, he's just talking about being late, and yeah, the baby's fine. It was just it's allergy stuff. It's fine. It's all good, but thank you for your concern. I do appreciate it. Marvin is watching while walking around the forest with your dogs. Well, that's impressive that you've got that kind of LTE bandwidth even out in the woods. Good for you. That's kind of cool. Let's see here. AssetProtectionTraining.com says, did you consider the TriCaster or Talk Show from NewTek? Great, helpful program, as I have the same problems to solve right now. And thanks, Rob. Okay, so the TriCaster. God, did I look at the TriCaster? I looked at so many things. I don't think I gave that one serious consideration, and I don't remember why, to be honest. Isn't that a streaming? That does the actual streaming? Does it also do the switching? I don't know. Sorry, I don't have an answer for you. I'm sure that I looked at it because I looked at a lot of things when I was really getting this set up, but I don't recall. Sorry about that. Okay, let's see. Next up on here. Yep, the Echo. We got the Echo fixed. Bernardo saying good morning, Sully. I'm the man, you the man. No, you the man. Bart Johnson Production says, good afternoon from Washington, D.C. Excellent. And IC Entertainment is asking, when is the GH5 stuff coming? Soon. That's all I'm going to tell you. Hopefully tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to release something tomorrow, but I'm not promising anything right now. Other than that it will be released. Okay, that's it for the morning chit chat. Excellent. Well, that just moves on. So if you haven't, this is part 2. Actually, let's just start the show officially, and then we'll go into that explanation. How about that? Good morning and welcome to PhotoJoseph's Photo Moment, the first live daily photo show on the YouTubes every weekday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific. Tune in live if you can, because it's a lot of fun. You get to participate in the chat, ask questions. It's kind of cool. So let's see here. Yes, this is part 2. Today's is part 2 of my broadcast studio. Yesterday was part 1, and if you haven't seen that, go watch it first, because it helps to understand what I'm going to do today if you understand what happened yesterday. Yesterday was about the cameras / sources, let's call them sources, which is cameras, computers, iPads, just everything that feeds into the switcher, and then we talked about the switcher itself. Today, we're talking about the set, we're talking about lighting, and we're talking about audio. So those are the critical components for today. As always, throw out your questions as we go. If you're watching this not live, you can ask questions in the comments, and I will do my best to address them either in the comments or on a future show. So let's start today with the set itself. I think that makes more sense. We're going to go set, and then lighting, and then sound. That's what I've got in my head, so we're sticking with it. Let's see here. Arnie is asking, have a GH5 when let's keep the GH5 questions for another time. Let's focus on the topic at hand here, if we can, please. Thank you very much. All right, so the set. There was a question that came up yesterday, why the gray background? So I'm going to show you how that background can be swapped out, how it was designed, but the ultimate decision to settle on the gray was just because it looked good. I mean, that really is what it came down to. I liked the way it looked. I had, in the early versions of this show, there was a wooden background, and I will show that to you in a moment. and I'll show you how that swaps out. And I liked it. I mean, it was cool. It had this kind of nice, organic, you know, went with the flannel shirt kind of a thing, and the beard and all that. But at some point, I remember if I did this for a client shoot. I think I did this for a client shoot, and I just loved the look of the gray. And then I put this sheet of aluminum. I have another sheet of aluminum that's smaller that I had used for a specific client thing. And not only did I just like the look of it on camera, it also bounces light back up, which is really nice because I'm not 19, and it helps to fill in some of the gaps. So it's just made for a really nice desk surface. And then this obviously went with the gray. It's all neutral. I just love the way it looked. So that's all. That's the only reason. There's no technical reason behind the neutral gray background. It just looked bitchin', and in my humble opinion. So that's the way that was. So let's take a look at it. If I go to my wide cam here, that's the set. Oh, there's the camera. That's the set. You may notice a very slight sync difference now. Hopefully it won't be really noticeable because this is so wide, but that's because the video and audio are no longer in perfect sync, and we will talk about that. Sorry, look at the right camera. We will talk about that when we get to audio. But I'm going to move it around a lot. I think it's going to be okay. All right, so let's look at the set. So clearly, the desk, I mean, it looks a lot bigger than it is because you're on a wide-angle lens, but you can see the width of that. What is the width of this? It's whatever. I don't know. It's this bad. It's this wide. So this is a standard. It's an IKEA desk actually, and then this is just sitting on top of it. The cool thing about the desk, like the background, is it can be very easily swapped out. Now I can't. But when I say easily on the desk, I mean easily as in I can take everything off and swap it out. I can't just swap it while you're looking. But if you look closely down here, you'll see a little light-colored wood trim. There are probably 3 different layers on this desk. So the desk itself is a dark brown, and then there's 1 or 2 wooden ones here, and then the metal one. And these are door skin, except for the metal one. The wooden ones are door skins. If you go to your local wood supply store, you're probably like a Home Depot or something like that, you will find door skins. And a door skin is a very, very thin piece of wood. And you can get it in oak and birch and ash and all kinds of things. I might be wrong about some of those, but you can get them in all kinds of things. And the idea is you attach that to a door. You have a hollow core, cheap door or whatever, and you put this door skin on it. So it's a very thin layer of wood that you can then stain and make look whatever you like. So those I get, and I have them cut to fit this. I don't have the tools to do that myself, so I have them cut to measure, and then they fit perfectly on top of the desk. And that way I can just easily swap them out. I have a solid white plastic thing that I can put here. Obviously I've got this shiny aluminum one and then the different wood ones. So it makes it really easy to swap out depending on what the client needs or wants or so on. I've done some stuff for DxO, for example, using the very light colored wood and then a pure white background. And the light colored wood looks really nice for the top down view when I'm doing something with the camera on the desk, and you've got the nice light background of the dark contrasting camera. It just looks really beautiful. So it's really quite easy to swap out. It just takes a few minutes, as long as I can take all the crap off of my desk, swap it out, and put the crap back on the desk. So there's that. Now the background is very similarly designed. So this is a 4x8 sheet of, this one's not plywood. This is, what is this? It's some other kind of wood. It's not plywood, but it's just, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's 4x8 sheet of wood. It's the same size that the door skins come in. And I just realized as I touch this, all my other backdrops are not here. They're out in the other room. But what I want to show you is how this thing comes together. So you can see here that it moves. You can kind of see that I'm moving it, right? Yeah, you can see that it moves. And you see there's a piece of wood up here. This is screwed into the wall. It's a little 2x4, piece of a 2x4 screwed into the wall. And then I built this little hinge on here. Let me give you a close-up of this. Now I need this camera back in. And for some reason my preset, I was messing with my presets and screwed something up here, so I can't quickly switch to this. I'm not going to go to this camera a lot. But let's see here. Let's go to, oh, where is it? G4. Oh, see, they're mislabeled here now. Darn it. All right, let's see if that's the right one. No. Oh, that's 2. No wonder it's wrong. There we go. The camera's off. Probably helpful if we turn the camera back on and get rid of the echo. Oh, the echo didn't come on. Excellent. Okay, good. So here's a close-up. Let's focus on that. Of that piece there. Okay, so you can see that there. This is just a washer and a strap, I guess. I think that's what that is. That's called. We get a little bit closer to it here. And there we go. So I'm going to try and hold that in position while I do this. reach it? Come on, can I reach it? There we go. And you can see this just moves out of the way. So that's there so that this doesn't fall forward. Okay? Easy enough. Let me set this down and go back to the other camera here. So that's up here so that this doesn't fall forward. This whole thing here is loose. It is sitting on top of, similar to this, you've got, can you see it in this view? No, you can't see it in this view, but similar to this, 2x4s that are screwed into the wall with straps like this on it, but not movable ones. They're permanently fixed. So there's a row of these across the bottom here, and that, of course, keeps it from falling forward. The whole idea, though, is that I can move these out of the way. Okay, that's supposed to be tighter, but that should stay up. There we go. Move these out of the way, and I can take that down. So I can now swap out this backdrop, and I have, as I said, multiple of these. I have different shades of wood. I've got pure white. Do I have a black one? Well, the wall is black, but it's painted black and it's kind of scuffed up, so I'd have to retouch it if I wanted to use it as black. But I can put anything here. So I can go out and buy a 4x8 sheet of anything and put it up here. A really cool story. Recently I had a client who wanted me to do a video of them, kind of but doesn't matter what I was saying with video, and we wanted a photo in the background. And I can't do green screen here. I tried it. I can't do it because the distance between me and the backdrop is too small. Green screen, you really need to throw it off farther out in the distance so you don't get any reflections. This wall, actually, I painted green originally and then realized it wasn't gonna work and had to paint over it and paint over black. But what happens with the green right there so close is you get green reflecting over your shoulders, actually reflecting onto the desk, and then that all becomes part of the green key. So it totally doesn't work. But if you have more distance, you could do it. Anyway, so I can just swap this out, as you saw, relatively easily like that. So that's the design behind this. I think, oh yeah, the other side of this one's white, so that you can do reversible. You can have two sides to them. So that's that. So if and here, let me just show you before I can do that, go back to this camera. And so if I was on this mode, you'd see there, look, I could do a two-tone back, whatever. You got options. You got the options. All right, so let's get this thing back up. And usually I would have multiples of these stacked in here, so I pull one out and just kind of swap it over. I'm not sure why all the other ones are out of here, but they're out in the other room. But anyway, so that's how that goes. So that's basically the set design. It's a very simple set, obviously. We've got a table and a backdrop. And the table, as I said, I can swap out the top on that, swap out the backdrop. Now, believe me, in retrospect, you always think about how you can do things differently. It would be more dynamic if maybe I was pointed into a corner and had some dimensionality to the background. I don't know. There's a lot of things you can do. This room is small. This is a 10 by 11 foot room or something. So it's not like I have a whole lot of space. And if I had more space, I'd have more options. But once you set it up, it's not like you can just easily move things because of the lighting, the cameras, everything else is basically a permanent fixture. So we gotta have a little bit of limiting here. All right, let me jump back to the main screen here and look at the comments, the questions that have come in so far. It looks like just one that came in from Horba. Says, what about the ceiling? How do you avoid sound reflecting from it? Okay. Excellent. Let's go back to, we'll get to that when we get to sound. Don't let me forget. I don't think I'm going to forget. When we get to sound, we're going to talk about the sound, the acoustics, because that's obviously a big part of this room. Okay, so let's go back to the wide camera here. So there's the backdrop and the tabletop. That's effectively the set. That's more camera. That's effectively the set. That's what we've got. Let's go to lighting next. There's everything I need to mention there, right? Yeah, let's go to lighting next. Okay, lighting. There's two layers of lighting in here. So the first one, let me get this camera set up for this. I'm gonna have to show you from here. And let's switch back over. Boom, there you go. Is that, darn it, keep hitting the wrong button. It's there, there we go, okay. Let me make sure there's no echo. Yep, no echo, okay. So here you can see three panels, three big diffusion panels. Those are homemade. That is a Windows screen frame, which you can custom cut and build at the size you want, and then large sheets of acetate over it. And so the way that is done is very clearly outlined, conveniently enough, in a video that I did for lynda.com. It's as part of the DIY photographer series. So if you go to lynda.com, check this guy out, you'll find, you can get to there, photojoseph.com/DIY, it'll take you right there. And as always, if you're not a member, you can get a 10-day free trial by going to photojoseph.com/Lynda, Lynda. Anyway, I have a complete video in there about building these custom hand-built, whatever you call them, diffusion panels. So it's super lightweight. If you were to go to the hardware store and buy a screen door or screen window repair kit, that's what it starts with. And it's a frame and little L joint things, and you cut the frame, just a really simple saw. You cut the frame to the size you want, put it together, and you got a frame. And I think you can buy extra corners, so you can build a bunch of little ones, whatever. You can build it however you like. And then I bought I think I'm out of it now, but a big roll of acetate from Amazon, relatively cheap, and I use that. And I've got a bunch of these things. I have more out in the studio that I use for other projects and all different sizes and so on. So those are the diffusion panels. Behind each one of those, and you could see the spotlight in there, is an LED panel. Now the LED panels that I have up there are not what I would buy if I was doing this again today. If I was doing this again today, I would buy the ones that are currently here and here, because these guys are awesome. Way cooler, way nicer than the ones that I have in there. You may have noticed even, let's see if I can you tell? No, you can't tell. There's no point in showing it to you. But I have 3 lights in here. I bought 2 to begin with and did them here, left and right. And then I thought, I want that middle light. I need that middle one. Bought the exact same light from the exact same manufacturer. It's a different color. So hence the kind of cheap Chinese manufacturing stuff. It's just they're not consistent. I mean, in here you can't tell that there's a color difference, but every time I look at it, it just bugs the crap out of me because it should be the same. But all of those lights and those 3 lights and the panels are all hanging from this ceiling suspension system, which I showed you a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to show it to you again right here. So let's go back to this. If we look up at the ceiling, let me brighten this. Let's see, bring the exposure way up. I know it's overexposed, but I'm doing this on purpose. You can see this lattice work that is hanging there. So these are what, 2x2s? Yeah, a bunch of 2x2s and 1x2s. And you can kind of see the lattice work. So it is, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 across. Yeah, it's 4x4 basically, the way they're put together. And that is hanging from the ceiling off of 2 very big hooks. Let me just, I'm in manual focus. It would probably help if I actually focused. There we go. 2 manual hooks on there, or 4 manual hooks rather, one on each corner of that with a little chain, and that is holding up that whole system. And then once that is in place, since that's in place, I can mount anything off of that. So my lights are hanging off of that, the diffusion panels are hanging off of that, all the cables that are in the room, from wherever they are, they go up onto that lattice work and then thread over to that hole in the ceiling that I showed you yesterday. So that's where all this stuff is mounted onto. So back to the discussion of the lights, let's go back to this wide view again. These guys here, so I've got one here and I got one over here. I think, let's see, this one's nicely visible in this wide shot. Painted orange so I don't hit my head on it. Believe me, I still hit my head on it all the freaking time. This guy, let's see here. How do I want to do this? I guess I can do it like this. This is hanging from you really can't see it. All right, let's go back to this camera. Let's go back to the close-up here and switch to this. Okay, so this guy, a little darker on there, there we go, in focus, close enough, is hanging upside down from this mounting bar. You can kind of see that mounting bar up there, how that is mounted to the wood lattice work. And that's hanging down there upside down, and it has a safety cable on it because I have learned the hard way that things fall off. Gravity is not your friend. And so this guy here has a little intensity dial on it, and you can see there the intensity changing on there. And these are basically turned all the way up. The front of this, it's a round panel. Let's bring the exposure way down. You can see the little individual LEDs. If you needed to, what I really like about these is they have an umbrella hole right here, so you could thread an umbrella through to diffuse it. Don't need it for this particular use. But these are, and I have these in the show notes. I think they're in the notes. If they're not, they will be. This is from a company called Genere. There we go. And so I know you're looking at, here, I'll turn the camera upside down. Ha! Now you're looking at it right side up. And see, there we go, focused. And these are from B&H, and they have 2 different sizes of these. These are the smaller ones, maybe 3 sizes. Maybe this is medium. Anyway, they have these ones, and then there are bigger ones as well. And I actually am planning, wrong one, go back here, there we go. I'm planning for my studio build out in the main studio where I do want to do a whole kind of, I'm going to take a portion of my studio, turning it into a live broadcast studio so I can go from here to there. Just takes money, but I've got it all planned out. I'll be using 3 larger versions of those on C-stands that I can move around. So those lights I really, really like. And if I was to do this again, I would get 3 of those and put them here along with the 2 here. So why are those there? Let's talk about that. If I turn this down all the way, let's see here. Let's go to the wide shot. Let's go to the wide shot. I'm going to go ahead and turn these. Well, let's just turn it off. So it doesn't light me, but it lights the background. So if we go back to this shot here, you can see the background's obviously darker, but it's too, I don't know. I didn't like it as much. I wanted some light on there. And so I was playing with, how much light to put on there. So let's put this on, and I could take the intensity on that way down. Let's do that. I'm going to get rid of this chair before I kill myself. Let's go to here, go all the way down. So at that point, you don't really see much of any of that light on there. Let's take one kind of halfway up, and so it adds a little lighting on there. But one of the things that it does, notice there's a bit of shadow from me on the background there, right? You can see that. If I bring these up all the way, the majority of that shadow, when I'm sitting in position, is gone. You still get a little bit, right? There's a little bit there, but it's majority gone. So part of it is to add a lightening effect to the edges, kind of a reverse vignette. Part of it is to obscure the highlight of the shadow on the background. It's just, at the end of the day, it's a look. I just like the way that it looked. I had originally, oh right, this is important. So originally, I have these lights here. Let's go back to the wide shot. They're still in place. These are, you can barely see them there, these were cheap LED shop lights from a local hardware store, like a Home Depot kind of place. And they're great. The LEDs themselves are really far apart, and so you could see the individual light shadow. It was kind of weird. So they've got a double diffusion layer that I built using the same kind of acetate that I have up here and looped over, and then there's black, I forget what this is called, this black foil that's designed for blocking light. It's this photographer's thing, hanging over here to keep the light from spilling too much onto the back of my head. And they were great for a nice evenly lit background. But it took me a long time before I realized that one of them was making a noise, a buzz, a little whir that was showing up in my recordings. And so once I realized that that's where that freaking noise was that was showing up in all my recordings, I killed those lights. Sound went away. Still had to figure out the lighting situation. So I was playing with my Felix LEDs, different positions, and I came up with putting lights here on the corners I really liked. And so I ended up buying these as permanent installation pieces for it. So that's that lighting. So that's it for the lighting. The lighting is simple in the sense that it's just a big-ass wall of light. And I think that's a really important part of it. You look at television broadcast, right? And you look at your nightly news kind of a thing. And the light, it's beautiful. Everything's just so nicely lit. It's because there's a lot of light, and it's really soft, so that the on-screen talent can move anywhere. And I move this way, I move this way. You're not getting shadows anywhere. I love dramatic lighting. Believe me, I love dramatic lighting. But it doesn't have a place in this, in my opinion, in this type of environment. I just want soft, even lighting, and you need a lot of it. Remember yesterday I was talking about the camera choice. The lens that's on there is a 12-35 f2.8. It's probably not all the way open. I might have said it was all the way open yesterday, but maybe it's at f4 or something, just so because I don't want to have to worry about going in and out of focus. I mean, if I go all the way up to here, let's see. Actually, this would be a good point. Let's grab the focus thing. So what point does it become? That's reasonably sharp. If I go up to here, it's a little bit soft, but it's still acceptable. I have played with putting really shallow depth of field lenses on there just to get a more cinematic effect. But then the problem is that if I focus on me here and then I sit up straight, it's not sharp anymore. So, for this kind of thing, it's not worth it. And I just want a set that's consistent and works. So hence the lens choice to go along with this. Okay, so lighting, big soft lighting, background lighting. I think that's it. The overhead lighting that's I just got to yank these out of here. They're not doing anything anymore. I think that's it for lighting. Occasionally you'll see if I've done videos where I have something on the desk here, I'll have maybe bring in another little LED to spotlight something. And if I'm doing a recording for a client and we're doing a close-up on a product, absolutely I might have a few other lights around that are pointing very carefully pointing at the subject, whatever we're talking about. But for this general show, this is the kind of permanent lighting setup, and we always have this really nice soft even lighting. And when I do a white background, if I need it to be pure white, like just so you can key it out, kind of pure white, high key lighting, then I will also add in 2 Felix lights, and they would be just out of frame, kind of here and here. So let's go back to this wide view. They would be sitting kind of right here on a stand and right here on a stand, and then those are going to be crossing each other, pointing at the background, and then flagged so that they don't hit me. Because again, the distance here is not that much. I mean, I really wish that I had more distance, but I don't. If I put more distance between me and the wall, I'd be closer to the camera, because the camera is all the way up against that wall. This wall is obviously against this wall, and that's it for my distance. Okay, so now from lighting, one of the really important elements, and this is one of those super easy things to overlook, makeup. You think I'm doing a daily vlog show, I'm gonna put on makeup. That's stupid. I don't put on makeup. You need makeup. So here's what I do. This is my routine before every show. Oil absorbing wipes. You get these at the whatever you call it, the Rite Aid or that kind of store. These are these cool little blue sheets. They come off here. You just take one of those and you pat it all over your forehead or wherever you get oily, and it sucks all the oil. It's crazy. It's like a oil slick. You pull it off, you're going, Jesus, I didn't realize it was that oily. But as soon as you take that off, the majority of the shine that's on your forehead, that is always on your forehead when you're under lighting, goes away. But it's not enough. It's not enough. You need more than that. Now I got this one. Anyway. So the next one is this is called, it's Mac Makeup. Mac makes MAC, Mac, not like the computer, but spelled the same way. Makes really, really good makeup for on-camera work. If you work with a professional makeup artist, odds are they're using Mac. It's really good stuff. This is the Prep and Prime Transparent Finishing Powder. So all this is, it looks white on here, but it is a oil-absorbing powder. So you take, reflect a little of this, a little on the forehead, all over the face, and it just eliminates that shine. So I considered starting today's show without it to show the difference, but I'm far too vain for that, so I didn't. So it's just a little bit of and off you go. Now occasionally, if I'm feeling particularly pale, I might add a little bit of skin-colored blush thing, not blush, I don't know what you call this stuff, foundation, I guess, but I hardly ever do that anymore. I used to do that more, but I think since I started using this regularly, I just kind of really stopped. But all this other stuff is all part of it too, and this is all, again, it's just, could be important. So this is the everyday, this, and this, always. Let's get rid of the makeup thing. If I'm gonna be on set, on camera for a long time, before I put this on, there's another MAC product. This is Skin Refined Zone Treatment Soin. The heck a soin is, but the Mac rep told me this is good. Basically, it's like another oil absorbing layer, but it lasts longer, so I'll put this on and then this anti-sheen thing stays on longer. So if I know I'm gonna be on camera multiple times a day, or if I'm doing on-camera work out in the studio, we're gonna be recording for hours and hours, then they both go on, and you are constantly touching up. Constantly, but every hour or so you add a little touch up. So that's another level of it. The rest of it are things, and I bring these out just to show the type of stuff that goes into making this look good, or can. I don't do this every day, but if I'm, again, gonna be on for a while, this is for people who have, like me, I've got very short hair, so you can see the skin under my head. Obviously, that gets oily too. What I'll usually do is I start with this. Oops, how did that happen? How did that even switch? Oh, I hit the keyboard. Sorry. When I'm done wiping my face with this, I'll rub it over my head as well. It takes up a little bit of oil, but this is dry shampoo, and all dry shampoo is basically, it's like talcum powder in aerosol form, and get that on your head, and that will help to absorb any oils in there. So if you have hair like mine and your skin is visible, then this becomes really important. So it's not to actually clean my hair, it's just to absorb the oil. A wiper, what do you call it, sticky roller wipe, so if sometimes you got a shirt that's just attracting fuzzy hairs, whatever, gotta have one of these around. Got to be able to, brush the beard before you go on air. This is important. This is Afrin. Sometimes if I'm just a little bit congested, a little bit nasally, you get that nasally sound, and you really don't want to sound like that on air, so a couple hits of this beforehand will clear up the nasal passages. But I had to do an entire course while I had a cold, so I had to do this a couple times a day. Man, this will mess up your nose after too much use. So use sparingly, but you need it if you need it. Got to keep your lips moist, so some kind of chapstick. Hands got to look good. If you're doing close-up stuff, you want your hands to look good. So a big old brush for cleaning out the nails if needed, little nail cleaner, nail trimmer, that sort of thing. If I've had a particularly late night the night before, little bags under the eyes, I'll take some of this stuff, a little brush, and a little bit under the eyes. Important stuff. It's, I don't want to look like I'm wearing makeup, obviously, and usually I'm not. Usually I'm just wearing the oil-absorbing stuff, but, you got to do what it takes to look good on camera. These are all important little pieces of it. So there you go. Oh, and the beard trim, if you gotta trim off the beard a little bit. Okay, get rid of all that crap. So that's the makeup side. A lot of stuff, I know, right? That's the makeup side of it. All right, let me take a look at the comments here, see if there's anything else, and then we'll move on to sound. Mike Weaver, thank you very much for the super chat contribution. That is super awesome. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, Mike. No question to go along with it. Let's see here, keep on scrolling down. I had the thing left scrolling up, that's why I didn't see it earlier. Sully says, that's what I wanted to ask PhotoJoseph. What ball head do you have mounted to that plank of wood? It's huge and I wanted to do something similar with my live stream reviews. He's talking about this. It has been listed in show notes before, however, this exact model is now a little bit different. This one is the Manfrotto 486. There is a newer one now that has a quick release head, and I don't know if you can actually get the 486 one anymore, but that's what that is. We've listed that before in the show notes. Sorry. Next up. Oh, Ryan says we're getting the sparkly artifacts again. That is so weird. It has to be something with the streaming. I wonder what that's. It's skin tone. That is crazy. I really don't know. We're recording. We'll look and see if it's in the recording. Then we'll know at what end that's happening. So, okay. Bart says, I always look exhausted in my YouTube videos, mostly because I am exhausted. Well, there you go. Might be time for makeup and soft underlighting. It helps. I'm telling you, it helps. A little bit of that goes a long way. The underlighting is definitely a good thing to do. AssetProtectionTraining.com says, I see you use a GH4 and GH5. Does that give you a better image for YouTube over a decent 700 camcorder from Canon? Or, okay, watch yesterday's video. Yesterday's video, I talked about camera choices. The primary camera is not a GH camera. It is a Blackmagic Cinema Studio 4K, something like that. It's also listed in the notes down below. And there's a very, very, very distinct reason that's there. I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to audio, but eventually I would like to replace all of the studio cameras with these cinema cameras. It all has to do with sync issues. So keep on watching and watch yesterday's. Let's see here. John says, don't think I'm ever going to be able to look at PhotoJoseph with a straight face again. Excellent. Well, I'm glad I can help you to laugh. That is my lot in life. All right, that's it. Okay, now we're going to move on to Captain P mode. I think Ryan put him in a timeout. Let's move on to sound. Right, we're ready for that. Did the set, did the lighting, done with lighting? Time to talk to sound. Okay, sound it is. Let's go back to the wide shot, shall we? Yes, let's go back to the wide shot. You can see a microphone here. You see a microphone hanging out over here. And I'm on a lav right now. So normally, my audio choice is the boom up here. This is a Rode NTG2. Gotta get the right model number. Rode NTG2 boom mic. There is a Sennheiser mic whose model number I totally don't know, but is kind of the de facto standard Hollywood boom mic. It's about $1,000. And this is the poor man's version of that mic, and it's about half that price. One day I was very fortunate that I was doing a lynda.com recording, and a Lynda crew was here in my studio, and they had both mics. And I was thinking about, adding a boom, and I got to do them side by side, which was fantastic. And I learned that the pattern on this mic is more narrow than the pattern on the Sennheiser. And given this environment, this mic actually sounded better than the Sennheiser. Yes, so got to save some money there. Another cool thing about this mic, so it's an XLR mic, as you can see on the cable there, right? It has a battery in it. You can put a battery in it, I should say, so that it's self-powered or it can run on phantom power. So in this studio environment here, it's just running on phantom power because I'm plugged into a mixer that's got that. But if I was on location and I was in a recorder where I couldn't or didn't want to do phantom power or whatever, I could put a battery in it. So super nice mic. I really like this thing. It is on a mic stand, as you can very distinctly clearly see up there. And obviously when we're looking at the main shot, you don't see any of this. That mic is gone, right? It's out of the picture. But it's right out of the picture, right? It is, if I could pull it down. No, it actually could be dropped a little bit lower. Anyway, it's right out of the frame right there. Okay, so there's that mic. That is my primary mic for all the live shows. That is usually what I do. The only reason I'm not doing it right now is because I'm moving around and because I'm going up here and over here, and obviously if I'm doing this and that's the boom, you wouldn't be able to hear me as well. So because of that reason, I'm on the wireless lav. Now the wireless lav arguably might even sound better. So you're thinking, well, why the hell don't you just use the wireless lav all the time? It's ease of use. Well, and also because wireless lavs are really expensive and I didn't have this one until more recently. But it's about ease of use. The studio is set up so that I can sit down with absolute minimal setup. Basically turn everything on, which I do first thing in the morning anyway. I can sit down, hit record and go. I don't have to mic up, I don't have to adjust anything, it's just ready to go. That is the objective of the room, and one of the objectives of the room being set up the way it is. So this mic just makes that easy. I don't have to worry about miking up, I don't have to worry about what I'm wearing, whether a mic is going to fit, but also it's because I have a unhealthy distaste for lav microphones. I know that you see them on every major talk show, they're always on lavs, it's totally normal. But I think because I do a lot of client work where if you're going to use a lav, it can't be visible, I actually have, where is that guy? Here it is. I have a very, very nice lav microphone from a company called DPA. Sorry, I don't have a close-up for you here, but we're just going to, here, I'll do it like this. You can see very, very small tip on here. And this, I have different tips here. This can go into a wireless pack like I'm wearing now, or it can go XLR, so it can go straight into a board. Super high quality, and this is one that I will, if I'm doing client work and I want the best sound possible, it will go behind the shirt, it'll get taped on behind a lapel. I have a bunch of stuff like this. Here we go. So this is a company, these are called Undercovers, and these are, you get a little kit of these things, and you get little sticky, can you see that? Well, yeah, there you can, little sticky kind of teardrop shaped things. You stick that on your shirt between your clothing, and then different colors of felt to cover it. And so you can put them under collars, lapels, wherever. You got a lot of different options. There are some really great videos out there on mic placement and hiding lapel mics, hiding lav mics rather. Really great videos. So if you're interested in that, just Google it on YouTube. You're going to find all kinds of great stuff. There's some really interesting content out there. I watched a bunch of these videos when I was first learning how to mic up things with a lav mic. There are videos that are kind of Hollywood guys that will talk about putting them into specific types of costumes and sewing them even into clothing. If you have some kind of costume that's being worn on set, sewing into it. It just depends on the size of the production, how much money is going to be put into it. But this is one of those really high-end, super good quality, really small mics that are used on set, Hollywood, all the time. So I have that for that specific type of use. I don't break it out all the time because it's too expensive. I don't want this to get hurt. So normally I'm just using, if I'm going to do lav stuff and I don't care about seeing it, it's this mic, which is a Sennheiser pack. So there's that. All right, put that away, put that fragile little thing away. So there's two different mic options. Well, three mic options, right? So we've got that. We've got this regular lav, the Sennheiser lav, and that option. The Sennheiser, of course, is wireless. That one, as I said, can be wireless or wired, either way. Then if I'm doing a podcast where it's primarily audio, or I don't need to use my hands. So if I'm doing an audio show, or I'm doing one of my own podcasts, the Photo Apps podcast, where I don't need to use my hands because I'm not doing the screen, then I will use this mic. So let's actually, this would be really interesting. Everything is hooked up. So let me do this. So okay, right now we're gonna do a little comparison side by side so you'll be able to hear it. I need something to read. Let me just bring up a web page here so I can read a little passage. I'm just gonna read a couple sentences, and I'm gonna switch between this mic, the boom, and the Heil PR-40 so you can hear the differences. This will be kind of fun. Let's see here. Let's just go to, we're not gonna go to CNN. That would be terrible. I'm sure it's not good news, whatever's on there. Let's go to apple.com. Because we all, well, okay, maybe not all of us, but I love Apple products, so there you go. Let's see, let's find some actual text. Okay, there we go. A little paragraph on macOS Sierra. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with the lav mic. Listen carefully. macOS is the operating system that powers everything you do on a Mac. macOS Sierra introduces Siri to Mac, along with new ways to enjoy your photos. Well, that's enough. All right, now we're going to switch to the lav. Okay, we got the right mic. Now we're on the, not the lav, the booms. Now we're on the Rode NTG mic. macOS is the operating system that powers everything you do on a Mac. macOS Sierra introduces Siri to Mac, along with new ways to enjoy your photos and more. So there's that one. Now let's switch to the Heil. Test, test. So this one, you get that big radio voice. You get up nice and close to it, stick it off axis a little bit so I'm not spitting into it. macOS is the operating system that powers everything you do on a Mac. macOS Sierra introduces Siri to Mac, along with new ways to enjoy your photos and more. So very distinctly different sounds, especially from here to these guys. Now I'm back on the lav, yes. So those are different mics for different uses. I've gone through a bunch of different mics. I actually just sold off a bunch of mics that I wasn't using anymore. And it just depends on what's going on. So I always have different mic choices for what I am doing. Okay, so that's the microphone itself set up. Now we're going to get into part of the complicated bit about the microphone and miking these things up. Which actually, before I do that, let me just take a quick look back at the comments here, so if there's anything I want to hit. I think that is the first one here. All right, here we go. Bernardo says, how can you assure that the boom mic doesn't fall on your head? I'd show it to you, but you'll believe me. Sandbag. So this is a mic, a boom arm, and a boom stand, and then a big old sandbag on the bottom. That's not going anywhere. So sandbag everything, my friend. Always, always, always. All right, next question from AssetProtectionTraining.com. The ME66 is the Rhodes competition. Okay, so that must be, is that the Sennheiser one, ME66? So that's great. I mean, it's like I said, that Sennheiser mic is great, but this one, lucky for me, sounded better in here. Bart says, I've thought of everything. Well, not initially. It took time, right? There's a lot of progression. If you've watched not just this show, but and when I started this show, things were pretty well dialed in. But before this, going back years, doing the live training on what used to be AfterExpert.com and is now PhotoApps.expert, you'll see a huge progression through the quality of picture, sound, and everything else. Okay, so let's see if there's anything else on there. Brent says DPA and Sunken Labs are your favorite. There you go, DPA mics. That's that little high-end one. Really, really nice mics. I'm not familiar with Sunken, actually. And by the way, I should say that knowledge from the microphone side of things, I mean, I've learned a lot about sound, but there's still, like, I know this much compared to what's actually needed. I have a rep at Sweetwater. I cannot recommend Sweetwater enough for doing anything audio. You'll get a dedicated rep, and this guy calls me. If I don't call him, he'll call me probably twice a year and just say, hey, Joseph, what's going on? What are you working on these days? Is there anything I can help you out with? And I always end up spending money, so it's obviously good for him. But they're super, super knowledgeable, and if I have tech support questions, I can go to the manufacturer or I can go to Sweetwater, assuming I bought it from them, obviously, and they're super, super helpful and knowledgeable, so I really, really recommend. Herb is saying, forget the lav next time you use the Heil. I know, it sounds incredible, doesn't it? The Heil PR-40, that is the podcaster's mic, and one of the things about it, grab it again, it's a front-firing mic, so you talk into the front here. Most mics you talk in this way, so it just, I don't know, it's just kind of, I guess it doesn't really matter visually wise. I don't know, I love it. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's a really, really nice microphone. Okay, so yeah, the Heil is great. Bernardo, yeah, the bass is quite different between the mics, yeah, especially the Heil. The Heil gives you that radio voice that's really quite popular. Ben says, Google it on YouTube. How searching on Google has become so ingrained in our mindset. Did I say Google it on YouTube? That's funny. Well, there you go. What you gonna do? Michael, which audio interface do you use? That's next, we're getting there. OC2Fish07 says, I only came across PhotoJoseph's channel recently, but I love what I've seen so far. Thank you very much. Okay, I think that's the last comment now. Yep, all right, so let's move on. Okay, so I've got these mics, and again, this is all progression. It's not like I just went out and bought all these one day. So building up to these things. Somehow this crap's got to connect to the system, right? So in the early days, I'm gonna try, how far back do we want to go here? Earliest days, I've gone through a variety of audio interfaces. I've bought audio interfaces that require drivers on your Mac, so you're meant to be plugged into the Mac, require a driver that then the OS updates and the company that makes the interface says, well, you just shouldn't update your operating system because we haven't updated our drivers yet. And a year later, when the next operating system comes out, they're still telling you the same BS. So I have made that mistake a couple of times buying audio interfaces that require custom drivers. I will never, ever, ever again buy an interface that has custom drivers. If this is now Mac, I have no idea how this works on Windows, but on a Mac, if you're buying an interface that connects to your computer, make sure it is class compliant. If it's class compliant, then it doesn't need drivers, and the operating system does everything that the interface needs. So when macOS Sierra comes out, that day, from day one, your audio interface will be supported. It is the only way to shop for audio interfaces anymore. I'm a staunch believer in this. Just don't buy things that need drivers. With that said, gone through a few of them, ended up buying, what did we just sell? Ryan, what was that one we just sold? The interface, the Mac, oh, crap. Now I'm totally I'm sorry, because I'm not using these anymore, but I want to tell you what it was. Let's see if I can get lucky, just Google audio interface Mac. He's probably looking it up on eBay right now to see what it was we sold. Ryan, see if you can find that. I'd like to tell him the model name, now I forget what it is. Anyway, so I was doing the audio through a Mac originally, back when the show was a Mac and a webcam, and you know, I'd use a mic like, I used to have a over-the-ear Countryman mic, which was really, really nice, and that was good because it was completely out of my way. I could do everything with my hands, had no mic in the way, it sounded really good. But once I grew a beard, which has been many, many years now, I could no longer use that because every time it moved, you'd hear it moving, scraping against my beard. Kind of a problem. So I even tried taping it down on my face, which you can't do when you're on camera, but if you're just doing audio, and even that just didn't work. Anyway, so I went through a few different audio interfaces that connected to the Mac. And then once the Mac was able to be pulled out of the equation as the system grew, I needed to feed audio directly into the mixer or route through a camera, one way or another. But still, I still have to have some kind of interface for the mic. So the Duet, Apogee Duet, that's the one I was trying to remember the name of. The Apogee Duet was the one I was using most recently. And I was running it not into a computer, but into an iPad, because you can do that. And the Apogee Duet on the iPad means that the iPad is perfectly silent, because there's no fan in it. So a Mac, every computer you add in here is adding more noise. We want to eliminate that as much as possible. So I got the iPad on there, and that also let me record the audio separately if I wanted to. So if I'm doing a show and I want to have a backup of just the audio, or all I'm doing is audio, I don't care about the video, then that's where it would record to. And it's a very good interface, but I just wasn't getting the sound quality that I wanted. And so I added hardware compressors. There's this thing called RNC, the really nice compressor. I added that in there at one point. I think I've added a few other things in and out, just trying to get the sound, the quality sound that I wanted. And eventually I had a project where I needed more inputs, more microphone inputs than what I currently had was providing. So I ended up buying, all right, now it's time to go back to this camera. Let's get this view set up again. And this is what is in the whatever screenshot, the hero shot of this image, of this show. There, oops, bring that down a little bit. That is a Yamaha mixing board. That is the Yamaha MG12U. There you go. MG12U on there, MG12XU, sorry. And this has a whole bunch of inputs. And you can see on there it's got, I'm going to pull my cables off. It's got, I know you can't really see everything here, but it's got gain control, compression, it has equalizer control, and then a fader on there to adjust the levels and so on. And so all of my mics can get plugged into there, and I have complete control over that setup. And if we just go back to the wide shot here, it's here. So it's just out of camera. If I'm obviously on this view, you can't see it, but it's just out of camera, so I can reach up and I can adjust things if needed. Once I put that in, it's like the sound quality went up quite dramatically. So this mixing board has, the processing that's in there is really nice. I really, really like it. I can feed, what, 6, 7, 8, 6 mics into this at once, plus other sources. You can obviously adjust the levels as needed for each one. We've done things where we had multiple wireless lavs plugged into it. Everybody's on a different level. You get a boom, you know, all kinds of stuff. And it's been a great, great interface. So from that, the audio goes out, dual XLR out, and that feeds into something. Okay, so now, let's go back to this view. Now we're gonna get into the really, really complicated part of this setup and why, one of the main reasons why this turned into such a super expensive cluster of a setup. I've mentioned this before, the audio sync problem while monitoring. That's the key, it's while monitoring. I don't have my ears in right now, again, because I'm moving around. Where are they? I don't even know where they are. Wonderful. Oh, crap. They're, hey, Ryan, in my backpack that's sitting on the couch, there's a little orange translucent box. Bring that to me, please. The key, the problem, let's talk about the problem first, the challenge rather, let's put it that way. The challenge is to be able to monitor, thank you, no problem, whatever is happening in the broadcast. So that means monitoring my own voice, right? But also monitoring this computer if I'm playing a video through it or something, if I'm having a conversation with someone over Skype, to of course be able to hear them. And once you have your ears completely plugged up with quality monitoring headphones, you can no longer hear yourself, and so you end up talking a lot louder than you need to because you can't do that. So you got to be able to hear yourself in your ears, or else your levels are going to be all over the place. So I have these guys, which again normally would be on, I'd be sitting on these normally, even for a show where I'm not talking to anybody, just as a safety, just so I always know exactly. So the echo that you guys are talking about in the beginning, I didn't know that was happening because I didn't have these in. If I did, I would have heard it right away. These are, You can see here they're curved around. These are really nice. These are designed to, they go over the ears, in ear, wrap around, they cinch up in the back. There we go. This cable goes off the back. I loop this through my belt loop so that you don't see it out here like this. So it goes down through my belt loop. If I can find my belt loop, there it is. Wait, almost. Hello. There it goes. And then it plugs into this, which is an extension cable running off of a second mixer. We'll come to that in a moment. So this allows me to monitor my sound, my voice, if I'm talking to someone, them, if something's on screen, on the iPad, whatever, and it, like I said, hear anything that's not supposed to be there. And they're virtually invisible. You know, if I turn my head, you can see them, but they're flesh colored, so they blend in. These come in different flesh tones. You can get them depending on your skin color, and they go in. And these are Westone. Westone is the company that makes these. It came with a black cable, and I had to swap everything out to get the flesh-colored ones, but Westone. Again, that is a Sweetwater recommendation. All right, I'm going to unhook right now because I don't need this and I need to be able to move around. It's a super important part of it. Okay, so I need to monitor, right? We've established this. I need to be able to monitor. When I was using a GH4 on here, and I know I've talked about this before, so I'm going to go through this a bit quickly. When I was using a GH4 or any DSLR or DSLM camera with HDMI out, there is a delay in processing from what comes into the camera to what goes out the HDMI port. That just happens. All of them do it. That delay was in sync. The video and audio would be in sync, so as long as I routed my dialogue into the camera and then into the switcher, it kept the video and audio in sync, and that was perfectly fine. It would then also be in sync if I hooked up a second, third GH4, whatever GH5 camera on here, any Lumix camera, because they're all really processing the same, and they'd all be in sync, and it was a beautiful thing, and that was great. But because it was a couple frames delayed, I couldn't monitor it because I would hear myself on delay, and you can't do that. So this is why I ended up eventually going to the Blackmagic camera. Now the Blackmagic camera in there, everything is in perfect sync. So I could route the audio through it, but I think there's a half frame delay. I think it's a minuscule, nothing that you're gonna notice. I might still be able to hear it if I went through the monitors, so I don't bother. From the mixing board, it goes straight into the ATEM, into the switcher. It has a primary audio input, and in the mixing board, and we'll look at the mixing interface on the ATEM software tomorrow. That's part of tomorrow's show. Going into there, I have control over all the different audio levels, including the primary mixing board. But individual mics are controlled from here. Now, I could route the computers through there as well, but there's no need to because the computer, for example, it's HDMI out that goes into an HDMI to SDI converter. Audio is carried all the way through there, so there's no need to do a separate audio tap into there. There's no point to it. Same thing with the iPad. Okay, so the audio, all the mics go into this mixing board and up there. I could monitor off the mixing board, but then I'd only be hearing what's going into the mixing board. And I just told you that the computer or the iPad, other things, are not going into the mixing board. They're going just straight into their video source, along with their video source. So I then need to take an audio feed from the mixer, from the ATEM, and bring that back down into my ears. And so that adds a second audio interface, a second mixer, not audio interface, a second mixer down here. And it's a little tiny guy. Doesn't need to do much special. So let's get this guy up here. And, oh, come here. Click, oops, what did I just do? Oh good, now I just lost mouse control. Excellent, connection lost. I'm plagued, I swear to God, the whole Bluetooth thing, it's out to get me. There we go, it's back. Okay, back to that. Where is it? There it is. So there's just a tiny little mixer. That one big, huge honking cable is in there. That is the cable that's coming off of the mixing board, and then it's going into an attenuator to reduce the power because it puts out too much power. It overdrives this little mixer, so that reduces the power. So all that's going in there is that one cable, and then that little jack there is the headphone jack. I can't get any closer. That's the little headphone jack, and that is what is threaded around into this. So I've got a little bit of flexibility when I'm on ears on here. I can plug in, I can move around a little bit, but if I have to get up and go somewhere, I have to unplug. So, you know, obviously that's kind of important. Don't walk away. And this is actually taped. The corner of this is taped to the desk. So if I pull on it, it's not going to rip my whole desk apart. So that's that. So the audio, microphone audio, all microphones go into the mixer. All other audio goes straight into the ATEM. From the ATEM, I have a program out. So I'm hearing through here the same thing that you're hearing. That's the critical part of it. It's exactly what you guys hear so that I know that you're hearing what you should be hearing and not hearing something you shouldn't be, going into that and then into my ears. Let's see, what else? Oh, the iPad that I was using before along with the Duet is still in play. It is also now connected via USB into the Yamaha. The Yamaha has a USB port on it. That's designed so you can plug it into your computer, and then you can take the program out, the master feed out from that mixer into your Mac and record there. Turns out, with the addition of a USB to Lightning adapter, which is designed for cameras, it's the camera kit, on your iPad, it will actually take in that USB cable and take in that audio. So there's a really simple, really basic Yamaha app that I use. It just records and plays back. That's it. There's no adjusting levels or anything. It just takes the feed off of the mixing board, off the mixing console, into there, and I can record on that. So if I'm doing something where, let's say when I do my podcast, so the Photo Apps Expert podcast, I record this video, of course, right? I'm recording this video. I record my audio, and the audio from the guest, so that's all recorded together, but that's all mixed, right? It's all muxed together, so all the audio channels are on one channel. So if I need to make any adjustments, if somebody coughs, I want to get rid of it. If his levels or her levels is too low or too high, I can't adjust that way. So I record the video with the audio, but then I also simultaneously record my audio on its own, straight off the board, so I have that as a separate file, and I have my guest, who's on air with me, record their audio locally on their end, and they use, depending on their setup, they might just use QuickTime Player to do a capture, and then they have a totally clean pre-Skype recording of their audio. Then they send me that file, and I just go into Final Cut and I sync them all up, and now I've got their audio on a separate channel from my audio. I mute the audio that was on the embedded video track, and that's it. That's all there is to it. And then of course I can adjust the levels as needed. I can EQ it, because they never have as nice of a mic as I do, so I will do as much EQ work as I can on theirs to make it sound as good as possible for the final final output. Okay. I think that's everything that I was going to do today. We talked about the set, we got the lighting, got the audio. I'm looking around to see if there's any pieces of this I've missed for the audio, but I don't think so. Oh, okay, the room, acoustical treatment. Right, we haven't hit on that. Very important. So, go back to the wide shot. You see these guys here, little acoustic foam paneling on here. They are all over the walls where it's not in set. There's an acoustic blanket. You can't see it, but there's a blanket down here. There's acoustic paneling there and all over the ceiling. I know someone asked about the ceiling. You might have seen when I showed the lattice work that I have these glued to the ceiling as well. So the room is covered in them. It's not 100% coverage. Apparently, if you do that completely, if you have no reflective surfaces, then you get a very dead sounding room. The biggest problem that I have in this room is the shared walls. So that wall right there, the other side of that is the break room of the neighboring business. And I'll hear them chatting, I'll hear their microwave, I'll hear them having a giggle. It can be frustrating, but what are you gonna do? I mean, it's their business, they gotta do what they gotta do. That wall goes outside, and sometimes trucks drive by. So this wall goes into my studio, this wall goes into my bathroom, so this side I can control. The ceiling even is a false ceiling if you saw yesterday's show, so that I have another dead space up there. So here, and here are fine. It's there and there that are a problem. And all the acoustic paneling in the world isn't going to solve it. The only thing that I could really do to eliminate their sound would be to build a second wall with an air gap and acoustically treat the hell out of that. And I'd have to do it on both sides, and that would help tremendously. But, just haven't. That's just, again, money and time, and it hasn't been a problem. I've gotten away with it. Sometimes what'll happen is I'll have to go to the neighbors if I'm recording something, not doing a live show. I don't worry about it for the live stuff, but if I'm recording something, go to the neighbors and say, "Can you turn the music down, please?" Because sometimes the music's basing through, and you know how it is. Neighbors, what are you gonna do? So that's that part of it. So that acoustic paneling came from, well, you can buy it on B&H. I'm forgetting the name of it. I don't think it's in the notes yet, but we'll make sure we add it in there. Ryan, make a note, make sure we add the acoustic paneling in there. We have to get that into there as well, because it's a very important component of it. And unfortunately, not a cheap component of it. Okay, now that's everything. Let's go back through the last questions on here. Oh, crap, my thing just scrolled all over the place. Okay, Ryan's confirmed the interface. Bart says, what's the heat like in that room? Oh, good question. Do you shut AC off while recording? Okay, so this room can get warm in the summer, for sure. Especially because that wall is an outdoor facing wall and the sun will hit it, so in the summer it can. There is an AC unit in this room, but it's crazy loud. It sits in the corner up there. I have a heat pump, so that's heating and cooling, in the main studio space, and you've seen that. It's a 1,000 square foot warehouse with 30-foot ceilings. It's a big space. It's a huge heat pump that I installed a couple years ago, which air conditions that whole room. as long as I leave this door open when I'm not recording, this room is the same temperature as everything else, and it's fine for a pretty good period. I can probably go a good 30, 45 minutes on the hottest summer day before it gets uncomfortable in here. But then I've got a little remote for the wall one. If I'm doing recordings, I just have to take a break, cool the room down, I'll put that on full blast, give it 10 minutes, and then I can come back in and get back to work. In the middle of winter, it's not a problem at all. In fact, in winter, this room can get quite cold. So if I have the door closed for too long, it's the opposite problem. I don't have access to the heat from out there, so this room will get too cold. And anyway, so that's the heat and cooling problem. So it's not a huge issue, but I can't just record all day long in the middle of summer in here. I do have to take breaks and cool the room down. And yeah, you have to turn it off. Even when I'm recording out there, I will, if I'm doing anything critical, I will turn off the heat pump because it does make noise. It's quiet. I mean, it's a remarkable machine, but it does still make some noise. But more than that, the bigger problem I have out there is the neighboring businesses have these big, huge cooling vents that are running pretty much all day long, and I can hear that. So, what are you gonna do? All right, so there's that question. Let's see here. Martin says, we used to use Denon kit when I used to work in the radio world. Yeah, more great kits. There's lots of really good audio kit out there. It's kind of awesome. All kinds of good toys. Scrolling, assetprotectiontraining.com asks, thinking of taking the sound in through 2 mics plugged into a GH5 with the XLR1. For you, I mean, that's a great way to go, right? Oh, it's not here, but yeah, if you're doing something on like a vlogging style and you want to have dual mics, dual lav mics, wireless mics or wired, whatever, and you want to be able to adjust those levels independently, going into the XLR1 will let you do that. Of course, if you're on wireless lavs, they also have their own up and down gain, but you still have no interface to get dual mics into there without the XLR1. So yeah, it's a great option. It's one of the really cool things about that device. It's small, compact, goes on there, plug in your dual audio sources, and off you go. And then of course, if you're recording internally, you can have one mic go to the left channel and one mic go to the right channel, which is really, really nice as well. So yeah, absolutely, it's a great way to do it. It's a very, very good tool for that. Every once in a while, the comments just go, just kidding, and they scroll completely off screen. Let's see, make sure I'm in the right place. Yes, I am. So Faked Cube asks, just wanted to say this has been one of my favorite shows you've done. Right on. Love the details on lighting and sound. I even understand all the sound stuff because I have a background in it. Excellent. Yeah, I didn't understand any of this crap before I started doing it. It took a long time. And I still feel like I know just enough to be dangerous. It really is. Sound is so much more complicated than I think people give credit to. Walter Murch, famous editor, has a saying that you don't watch a movie, you listen to a movie. People, when you're watching a film or watching something on YouTube, if there's good sound, you forget about the sound, right? It's not a problem, therefore it's just sound. It sounds good. Good, that's the way it should be. Great. Picture though, oh, the lighting shit, there's pixelization, there's sparkles on my head, there's all these things that come up. And you can spot those flaws really, oh, that's terrible, that's terrible. But the audio, as long as it works, it works. But audio is completely behind the scenes. If you put bad audio, you have a really good video and bad audio, you're gonna turn it off, right? You're gonna stop watching the show. If you've got really good audio and bad video, you can forgive the bad video, but man, you can't forgive bad audio. And it's hard to get right, it really is. So yeah, anybody who really is into this, if you know an audio tech, give them a hug and say, hey, thanks for your hard work, because I think it's really an unloved service unless you're in the industry and you know what it really takes. AssetProtectionTraining.com again says, with the Blackmagic and the GH5 plus the lenses and the switcher and the cables and the mixing board and the computers and the mics, what do you guess you spent? I don't know. My wife might be watching. I don't want to know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, you're suggesting is it 30K? I don't think it's that high. It's probably somewhere between 20 and 30, but yeah, it added up. This was not an overnight expenditure. This has been building up over years, but yeah, it adds up. You know, you go, oh, I could do that, I could do that. Yeah, a little here, a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. It adds up. It really does. It probably is over 30. I don't want to know. Ben5 Shuttle says, and you said that you're not that knowledgeable about audio. I'm just keeping up. Interesting though. Thanks. Well, I learned. You know, I learned over time. I started with nothing, and I've learned a lot. Quentin Smith says there's some acoustical drywall I recently saw. Might be easier, cheaper to treat the wall with that. Well, the acoustical drywall, I've seen this stuff before. That is meant to be put up when you're installing the wall, right? So you're building a room, you're building a wall, you put this acoustic drywall up. Because there's already drywall here, there's already a wall in place. I mean, I could rip that wall out, I suppose, but that seems a bit excessive. I would build another wall. I'd build a false wall air gap it, so there'd be a gap of air between. That wall would have the acoustic drywall and other acoustic paneling on the back of it. So there's all different kinds of things that you can buy, and they're all rated. I forget what the rating is called. Someone's going to comment and tell me. There's a number scale for the rating of acoustic absorption, and so you can put those on there. So you've got your wall, so if the sound's coming this way, it's going to go through various layers of drywall that's already in place. Obviously, that's going to knock it down. Certain frequencies travel better than others, right? You know, you can hear the bass, but you can't hear the music from someone next door, right? So then you get these acoustic panels that go on that absorb those frequencies, and then you got your acoustic drywall, and then you've got the foam on the other side for audio reflections that are happening on this end, and they'll absorb a little bit coming through as well. So there's a lot of layers to that before you get it really, really good. I would love to, believe me, I would love to do that in this room, but I feel like if I was going to spend the money to build out 2 walls in here, I would rather dedicate a larger portion of the studio to this and build an entire isolated freestanding room that is completely ISO'd from everything else. Even a floating floor if you wanted to really go crazy about it, and just completely isolate it from everything else. And then it would have to have ventilation in there, silent fans, venting. You can go crazy really, really quickly. Michael's asking if I use bass traps in the room. I don't because it was one of those things when I put all the paneling in, since I'm not doing music, it didn't seem like it was necessary. It hasn't ever felt necessary, but I've also never put them in to see if there's a difference, because I have to spend a few $100. But I do have, let's go back to the wide shot. So this stuff that's here, I have another one of these that's sideways. I know you can't see it, but it is down here, and it curves around into the corner. And that corner there isn't one, but there's a bunch of crap in the way, so it's kind of reasonably well blocked. But no, I do not have bass traps in here to answer that simple question. Alrighty, Marvin says, put a monitor in portrait mode. I don't know what you're referring to. For what? Please clarify. Asset Protection is just saying thanks. You're quite welcome. APN TV, totally agree. Audio makes it even if the video is a bit dodgy. Yep, absolutely. Martin, decibel scale. What about it? You want to know where I'm at? There's the decibel scale on the Yamaha. I am right now, when I'm talking, I'm hitting 0, which is where I want to be. Remember, scales are different everywhere. Super annoying. When I'm looking at the meters that are coming through the ATEM, which I can separately control levels, so I can boost or reduce what's coming off the mix board. I can see my levels in front of me here. I'm just below red when I'm talking. If I talk louder, that broke into the red. So there, as I go up, I'm right there. That's at red. So I know I'm peaking on there. And I can also monitor that on the screen, but I've got a little mixing monitoring board here, which I'll talk about tomorrow as part of tomorrow's thing. So there's that. I don't know if that really what your question was, but now you got it. Bernardo says acoustic treatment is a monster science by itself. Yes. So the company, what's the company I bought all this through? Oh man. Let me see if I can find this real quick because, oops, wrong. No, that's the right one. Because they do, this company that I used, they're really slick. They will do an analysis for you. You send them measurements of your room, where you put them, tell them where the windows and doors are, what you're doing with the room, where your furniture has to be if it has to be somewhere fixed, or you can say it's all, oh crap, I'm sorry. How did that even happen? Oh, because I hit that, sorry. They'll do this analysis of your room, and they will tell you what paneling to put where, and you can tell them a budget. You know, I've got $2,000 to spend. Like, okay, this is what you can do for that budget. And it's great. It's a great service. I want to find, let me see if I can just find this acoustic. If I search acoustic paneling in my mail, maybe I'll find it. Yes, here we go. It is, okay, put the name of the company's got to be in this email somewhere. The guy's name is Adam, RLX. That's who makes these panels, right. So RLX makes the panels. You can buy them, I don't think you can buy direct from RLX. I think you have to buy them from a third party. So I think I bought these from Sweetwater because that was all part of the audio setup. I just did this for a client, and we bought them through B&H. But RLX, let me just, this is not this room, this is another room. Let me get this big on screen, and then I'll bring it up. So here's what it would look like if you get a layout from RLX. So there's this room, so the sizes on here, the schematics are all in place. You see that's where you're going to put the desk. And in this setup, they had recommended bass traps, and these were all acoustic panels, just like the ones you see here. So again, it's not you're not covering every surface. These are the base straps that sit in the corner, so you can see 2 views. So it's a flattened view. There's the floor, left wall, right wall, front and back, and so on. So that's the kind of thing you get. So AURALEX, RLX.com, and they will map it out for you. Really, really cool that they do that. And they don't charge you for that, which is great. It's a free service. Okay, let's see here. Anything else? Marvin, you got to tell me what you meant by monitor in portrait mode. Oh, for the scrolling chat. You did. Okay. My scrolling chat that I'm seeing is on a huge display here. It's on a big, I don't know, 40-inch LCD or LED, whatever TV. Yeah, I mean, I could go portrait, but I use it for other things, so no, it's not going to go portrait. Okay, I think that's everything. Is there no other questions popping up? Super. Whew. All right, man. 11:40. That was a long show. That was over an hour, but there was a lot to get into. So tomorrow's show is going to be about the switching system, which in itself is a huge story. The capture system, because I capture everything locally. At least I normally do. That was recording. Apparently ran out of space. I sure hope the show is solid on YouTube. And streaming, how this actually gets out to you guys on the YouTubes. So that's it. That's the whole show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Let's see, what do I want to pimp today off of my channel. Let's see here. What do we want to talk about today? Hey, the podcast. Yeah, let's talk about the podcast. I haven't. I mean, I kind of mentioned it earlier today. Let's bring this guy up. The latest podcast is with an interview with the creator of an app called Easy Release. You can view this, or listen to this, or view this on iTunes. Just search for Photo Apps Podcast, or if you search for PhotoJoseph, you'll find it as well. It's all in there. Or you can just go to photoapps.expert and you can watch the podcast right there directly. It's on YouTube. So the podcast is everywhere. Please do check out the podcast. It's always fun. That was episode 2 of season 2. Next one, oh my God, wait, no, not, okay. I thought, for a second there, I thought I missed one. We release it every other week. So next Wednesday, there'll be a new one. I think it's Capture 1. It's already recorded. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I'm pretty sure that's what's on the agenda. And that's that. All right, you guys. Super. Thank you so much. Martin's saying another 24 hours to go. Hold your breath back to get your breath back. I know, right? Talk nonstop. It's insane. That's it. All right, you guys, take care of yourselves. Be sure to tune in tomorrow. We'll be back at normal 9:30 time. Of course, if you miss it, you can watch it anytime after. You know the routine. Thumbs up this video. That helps. Thumbs down if you have to. But if you have to, I really would like to know why, because I don't think there's any good reason to thumbs down this show. There's a lot of stuff went into this. It's a totally non-controversial show here. That's it. All right, guys, take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching live. Bye-bye.